Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Alliya and Shawn's wedding was the worst I've ever seen on 90 Day Fiancé, and they're both to blame. The long-awaited wedding of 90 Day Fiancé's Alliya de Batista and Shawn Finch was easily the most painful wedding I've witnessed in the entire franchise, which is no easy feat. While many 90 Day Fiancé weddings have fallen victim to elements beyond the couple's control, including short timelines, tight finances, and cultural differences, Shawn and Alliya had none of the above. Their stunning California wedding was intricately planned and attended by a large group of loved ones, including Shawn's supportive mother and his beloved dog, Maxwell. This made the day's disastrous turn even more awkward, and at times heartbreaking. Shawn and Alliya endured a painstaking path to marriage that began when they appeared on 90 Day Fiancé, Love in Paradise. The couple has a 36-year age gap, which gives them a complicated dynamic. Shawn had misgivings about Alliya's desire for gender affirmation surgery, and he pushed her to have an open relationship while they were long distance. However, Shawn and Alliya also had many sweet moments, and Alliya's move from Brazil to Los Angeles proved their love could overcome even the most difficult circumstances. Their optimism is what made their catastrophic wedding day even more unsettling. As their wedding day approached, 90 Day Fiancé's Shawn worried Alliya wouldn't be able to stick to their timeline, and it turns out his fears were justified. Alliya was meant to get ready for the 5 p.m. ceremony on the wedding venue property, but even with her friend attempting to keep her on track, Alliya couldn't speed up the process of doing her hair and makeup. She appeared to have no sense of urgency despite Shawn and their guests waiting outside in over 100-degree heat. As the minutes ticked by, Shawn became increasingly furious, and I couldn't blame him. Alliya finally arrived at 6:50, having kept everybody waiting for almost 2 hours. By that time, Shawn had run out of patience. He approached Alliya with a belligerent attitude and, with no acknowledgement of how beautiful she looked, threatened to leave. Although Alliya was completely out of line, I couldn't help feeling sorry for her. She looked so caught off guard. Alliya tried to keep a brave face, but it was obvious she was humiliated and heartbroken. With their futures on the line, Shawn and Alliya proceeded with their marriage ceremony, but Shawn made no attempt to hide his anger. He ordered the officiant to rush through the process, skipping straight to the vows. As they walked up the aisle as husband and wife, a guest asked if the ceremony was a whole 3 sentences, to which somebody who sounded like Shawn coldly replied, "Welcome to citizenship." I can't imagine how uncomfortable the guests felt, and I had secondhand embarrassment for Shawn and Alliya watching them throw away the opportunity to celebrate their love story. Alliya later admitted her disappointment and confusion over what had happened. The moment she'd dreamed of had been cut short, and she was made to feel like a burden on what should have been the happiest day of her life. Further complicating the unhappy day was an unfortunate incident involving Shawn's mom, Jean. Just prior to the ceremony, Jean fell and hurt her ankle and hip. She insisted she could wait until after the wedding to go to the hospital. Shawn was beside himself with worry, which I'm sure played a large role in his obnoxious behavior. During the 2 hours Alliya kept the guests waiting, Jean sat in the front row in excruciating pain, her leg propped up on a chair in front of her. Alliya's brazen tardiness was seen as a huge lack of respect for Jean, who had been so welcoming and maternal to Alliya. Jean's injury made the profoundly awkward day even more stressful, and it made Alliya's lack of consideration even more devastating. By the time dinner started, tensions were unbearable, and Shawn did little to calm the storm. During an obligatory toast, he thanked his guests for coming and then added an insult. At this point, the guests were stunned. Shawn had every right to be upset, but the way he treated Alliya ruined the day for everybody else. He admitted during a confessional that Alliya's disregard for him, when it truly mattered, triggered concerns that she would never truly be there for him. Shawn and Alliya's wedding day wouldn't have been so horrifying if it hadn't been so full of potential. But the 90-day fiancé couple had been through so much, and they'd orchestrated what should have been a perfect celebration of their love. With only themselves to blame for the sad turn of events, I have to wonder if Shawn and Alliya's wedding was a sign that some problems are simply insurmountable. When it comes to 90-day fiancé, chaos is expected. The franchise thrives on drama, awkward cultural clashes, and love stories that make you question the entire concept of soulmatehood. But nothing could have prepared me for the jaw-dropping disaster that was Alliya and Shawn's wedding. It wasn't just cringeworthy, it was apocalyptic. A flaming metaphorical dumpster rolling down a hill into a gas station. Let's rewind. Alliya, a vibrant, no-nonsense Brazilian beauty with a flair for theatrics, met Shawn, a milquetoast man from rural Minnesota with the charisma of a soggy napkin, through a language exchange app. Their chemistry, well, it was about as explosive as Diet Cola. But somehow, despite the red flags stitched together into a giant parade float, they decided to marry. By the time their wedding episode aired, viewers had already witnessed screaming matches over Alliya's refusal to live on a goat farm, Shawn's bizarre obsession with ketchup. He puts it on everything, including spaghetti and toast. And a particularly memorable moment when Alliya called his mother a cursed cabbage spirit. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to what happened on the big day. Act I, the venue from hell. The wedding was set in what Shawn enthusiastically described as a rustic barn event space, which was code for an actual working barn still full of livestock. Chickens wandered freely among the folding chairs. A goat tried to eat the ring-bearer's bounty. The scent of manure wafted heavily in the summer air, mixing with the perfume of wilting dollar store flowers. Alliya, dressed in a skin-tight rhinestone gown, more suited to a Las Vegas showgirl review than a barn wedding, looked like she might actually combust from rage when she realized the altar was a bale of hay. "I am not Marion Zoo," she said, dead-eyed to the camera, moments before producers convinced her to stay. Act I, the family feud. As if the setting were bad enough, the wedding quickly devolved into an all-out war between the families. Shawn's mom, Gloria, who had clearly mistaken subtle makeup for 1970s clown aesthetic, had already made her distaste for Alliya known. She muttered loudly through the entire ceremony, calling the officiant a witch, and at one point shouted, "It's not too late to annul this," from the second row. On the other side, Alliya's cousin Matthias, flown in from Sao Paulo, was drunk on rum punch by 10 a.m. and kept trying to start a conga line. He also accused Shawn of stealing the flower of Brazil, whatever that means. A brief physical altercation over buffet shrimp resulted in one aunt dislocating a finger and several small children crying. Act I, the ceremony breakdown. Shawn's vows were clearly copied from a stock wedding website. "Alliya, you are my moon, my sun, and all my meteor showers," he began, before nervously fumbling the ring and dropping it directly into a cow patty. Alliya, who had spent months writing her vows in Portuguese poetry, immediately abandoned them and improvised a venom-laced roast. "You are like soup with no salt. You are a wet toast. You are invisible passion." She then paused and added, "But at least you try." The crowd clapped, unsure whether it was sarcasm or acceptance. Even the officiants seemed to consider just walking away. Act IV, reception or exorcism. By the time they got to the reception, the entire barn had become a war zone. The DJ had only downloaded country music remixes of pop songs, prompting Alliya to scream, "This is not Bianca," and storm out 3 times. At one point, the speakers caught fire due to an overloaded extension cord that also powered a fog machine borrowed from a local haunted house. Yes, there was fog. In a barn, with actual animals. The cake. A lopsided, 3-tier monstrosity made by Shawn's niece. It was frosted in what looked like mayonnaise and decorated with Pez dispensers. Alliya refused to cut it, muttering something about offending her ancestors. Halfway through the first dance, Gloria fainted, whether from heat, stress, or sheer embarrassment is unclear, and paramedics had to be called. Meanwhile, Mateus had climbed on top of a table and began chanting soccer cheers, which led to a miscommunication and a brief belief that Brazil had declared war on Minnesota.